Just a quick extra video. I've received a lot of requests for me to do a teardown on one of these card radios. Now, I'd imagine the way these are put together, doing that would normally be a destructive process. Although I have seen a service manual for this Sony one, and it suggests that you start off by peeling off the top. I'd imagine you put a blade under one of these pictures or sides and then take this off. It'll no doubt be all glued together still, so I don't think it's a great idea to take any of these apart normally if they're working. Fortunately, we've got one here that isn't working, and it was the one with the rechargeable cell, no doubt a NiCad battery inside here. So I think this is our candidate to be torn apart. Incidentally, talking of that Sony model, this is quite a bit later than the models here from Casio. If we look at the top, it's referring to the 40th anniversary of the Sony radio that first came out in 1955. So that brings us up to 1995. But a person sent me a link to a catalogue showing that they were still selling these on the Japanese export market, and that was in 2015. So this had a good long run on it. They're still quite hard to find though. I don't know if they're not all that reliable. Fortunately, mine's working. Right, so we'll get those out of the way and we'll see if we can get this one open. It's one of the chunkier models. Looking at this, I think one of these sides comes off. This part here. It looks like there's a bit of a seam all the way along there, although I'm not sure you could actually get anything into it. I think this is going to be glued as well. So this is probably going to be a destructive process. We're probably going to snap things off while we take this apart. If you don't want to see that, turn off now. But I will say that there was no way this thing was ever going to be working again anyway. I'm not going to find a suitable NiCad cell to put in here just to give it a 5-hour battery life when that Sony one can do 20 hours on one button cell, or coin cell I should say. So let's see if we can get inside here, see if we can get any kind of movement, and the answer is no. It really doesn't want to come apart. So this thing is definitely glued together. You would have thought I'd get something off that. Yeah, this is not going to look pretty at the end of this, that's for sure. I noticed I'm getting a bit of movement on the metal on the corner there. So perhaps it's a bit like the Sony's in that you peel off the cover to get inside. Yeah, a lot of glue in here. Yeah, if you think this is going back together again, you can forget it. Right, there's a tiny little spring popped out there. That's fun if you were trying to repair this. Right, so it looks like it's supposed to lift up from here. Hold on. I'm seeing a circuit underneath there now. Maybe we should just take this whole circuit out. Yeah, look how the battery's died on that one. You can see it's all just dust under there. Right, so do you think we should try and get the other side off? Maybe that would give us access. Right, well, you take that cover off and it does give you access to some pots here. So let's try and peel that piece of metal off. Yeah, you don't want to repair one of these, do you? Okay, there we go. Now we're inside and we can see the reverse of that circuit board. And there's our big dead battery. Don't know if there's a way to push all this through. Try not to break anything here. Well, let's have a look at this first of all before we go any further. So, a couple of chips hidden underneath these bits of plastic here. but not an awful lot else to see at the moment. I'd like to get this whole thing out. Suppose we're going to have to take this off. If you're wondering why I'm not using a normal screwdriver, it's down to sheer laziness. But since I've got this here, I'm sure it'll do the job. Right, we've got the screw out to there, so that'll come off. So that'll push through. Now this thing does not want to come apart. Wow, there's some strong glue on that one. Perhaps I should have used that on the Cybertruck. But anyway, there you go. That's what it looks like. That's our big stupid dead battery, which is taking up quite a bit of the room. So we'll just pull that out of the middle of there. It's not designed to be serviceable, that's for sure. So yeah, get that out of there. And that, give or take a couple of little springs and things that have flown off, is the radio. So yeah, it really was a pretty impressive feat of miniaturization. I mean, given the technology of the time, we're talking, for this model, I'd imagine sort of 1988 or something like that. In fact, maybe this information on the chips tells you exactly when this was made. People like to decipher these things sometimes. On the back here, it says 8544. Don't know what else to add other than, there you go, that's the inside of one of the card radios. And this is one of the chunkier ones as well. But they certainly weren't designed to be taken apart and put back together again. It was a strict one-time deal. Once they'd glued it all together, it wasn't ever designed to come apart and be repaired again. But the Sony, there is a service manual for that, so, you know, things improved, I suppose. Right, there you go. That's a card radio. And these are the other bits of the card radio that went flying off as I was taking it apart. So yeah, I would suggest don't get in the business of card radio repairs. It doesn't look like much fun. Anyway, that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.